And I'm sure we'll talk about that in a little bit here. Anyway, I thought this would be a great night to invite Chris in because one topic I've wanted to talk about for a long time is how entrepreneurship and Kickstarter has really helped to bring about all the innovation that we're seeing in tabletop games today, and has really contributed to what I'm always calling, whether it's true or not, I don't know, but like the golden age of tabletop. I really think we're in the golden age of tabletop. And I think that, Kickstarter has played a role in that. So we're going to have some of the usual kind of like intro stuff. So first off, the usual disclaimer, our friend Ghoster is recording us here today. And everything that you're seeing up here in the front is getting streamed to YouTube. And everything that you say is going to be streamed to YouTube. So, just behave and know that we've got an audience out there. So hi, YouTube. People do watch it. So, don't swear. The group, I think a lot of you, I've seen a lot of familiar faces. Anybody here for the first time? Anybody joining us? Hi, Langlaire, nice to meet you. And Shane, glad to have you here. But everybody else here, yeah, definitely kind of veterans of the group. The idea is I wanted to create a game group for people in virtual reality. Tabletop can be kind of an isolating hobby, and I wanted to create a place where people could come together in VR and talk about their interests and play really cool games like Boss Monster, like we're going to be playing tonight. And we're going to have a new game soon. Just keep making this announcement. And in fact, I'm really happy to announce that Secret Caesar, the new game in Altspace, finally has an official debut date. It's going to be, the initial event is going to be on December 9th. And a few of us are going to be playing it and kind of showing you guys how to play the new game, and helping everybody kind of learn about how to play Secret Caesar. And then I think from then on out, it'll be available as an activity, or you can host your own events. The other thing I wanted to mention real quick is we are going to be testing Secret Caesar tonight. I'm helping the developer of the game from Altspace, Steven, kind of work out some of the last kinks by testing the game. So if anybody's interested in helping with that, either friend me right now so that I can invite you to that session later tonight, or take down the Discord, which is right here. So if you screenshot this is a link to our gaming group's Discord. And I invite everyone to go there and form an account, so that you can, first off, so that you can find out about the Secret Caesar testing tonight, but also so you can just learn about future meetups that we do both inside and outside of Altspace, gaming-wise. So, screenshot it, go join it, check it out, friend me, however you want to get in contact with the group, please do. All right, so going back here, so I'm not going to talk about the past anymore. So I took a couple weeks off. Last week we did kind of a special event that was just kind of silly, where we talked about some of our favorite gaming memories, and that was just kind of a fun thing to do because of the holidays and because of National Tabletop Week. National Puzzle and Game Week. Now we're going back to the regular schedule. This week we've got the Kickstarter stuff. Next week I'm going to start a new series about gaming fundamentals, and I'm going to start by talking about theme, which is like probably my favorite thing about games. And then the 19th we're going to do the year in tabletop, just kind of looking back on what everybody's favorite things about the year in tabletop was. So we're going to, from here on out, just to keep, in the spirit of our friend last week who said, shut up and just play games. Remember that guy? We're going to only do 2 of these sessions where we have talks and discussions a month. It's going to be the first and the third Tuesday. And the in-between weeks, we're going to go do things outside, both outside and inside of Altspace, where we just do games the whole time. And we're probably going to start with Tabletop Simulator if they actually fix VR mode for us, because it's broken right now. All right, so I think I'm going to skip all this other stuff just to get to the wonderful meat of this. So anyway, today's topic, and the reason that we're happy to have Chris here, in addition to hearing more about some of the details of Boss Monster, entrepreneurship has been, I think, a really important part of why tabletop is really kind of on its way up right now. It used to be back in the day that, board games were these, kind of handcrafted pieces of art, right? I mean, I think we've all been to museums and we saw some of the early chess sets. and we saw, maybe things like this. This is a 15th century chessboard here, and they were these items that were carefully created by people who had a vision, and often they were more interesting for the way they looked than the way they played necessarily, because they weren't professional game designers who were thinking about sophisticated game mechanics and whatnot. In the 20th century, board games became really popular, with games like Monopoly and the like. But what ended up happening is there were a few companies like Parker Brothers and Hasbro that started to dominate, right? And that had an effect where the innovation really slowed down. When I was a kid, I mean, you either played Monopoly or you played Risk or something like that, right? You didn't have a whole lot of choice. But what's happening today is we now have platforms like Kickstarter where creative people are able to come up with their unique visions and bring them directly to the customer. And as a result, we've got a way more diverse type of game that's coming out there, and a lot more variety and a lot more choice. So that's why I wanted to invite here today someone who's been a part of this revolution in tabletop. So everybody welcome Chris O'Neill to the event. So just let's see some emojis, guys. So Chris founded Brotherwise Games with his brother Johnny, and they also together made Boss Monster. And Boss Monster was, I would say, probably amongst the first really big success stories. Boss Monster was a successful Kickstarter, and here we are 4 years later, 5 years later.
5 actually, yeah.
Yep, 5 years later, and I went to 4 stores on Sunday just to do a little bit of research, and both of my hobby game stores had lots of Boss Monster in stock, but I mean also you can go to Target, you can go to Barnes and Noble, it's there. So you've gone from Kickstarter to really have a product that's really just a big time gaming property.
Yeah, we've gotten very lucky. Go ahead.
Yep. No, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Please.
Yeah, I was just going to say we got into Target this last year, and we've been in Barnes and Noble for a little while. So yeah, you're right. It's luckily for us, it's made the leap from Kickstarter to hobby retail and now to mass market.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think that the fact that it's so comfortable, I think, in both hobby stores and those kind of more Target type locations really kind of shows what a diverse game it is and how it'll appeal to a lot of different players. That's one of the things I really like about it, that I feel like it's the kind of game that I could pull out and play with just about anyone, and will generally enjoy it. So as I mentioned, it was a big time success story on Kickstarter, I guess 3 times, right? So there were 2 different Kickstarters for the 2 different versions of the game, and then one for the video game version of it, I believe.
Correct. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Awesome. So I guess why did you decide to take your game to Kickstarter instead of going a more conventional route? What led you to crowdsourcing your funding for Boss Monster?
I mean, really, we only saw 2 options at the time. One was to sell the game to a publisher, which was the traditional mode of getting your game made. And we simply had no idea how to do that. we didn't know who to call. We didn't know how to submit. We didn't know anything. And the other option was Kickstarter. We never really seriously considered self-funding it. We knew we had done enough research to know that was going to be outside of our financial capability at the time. And we had sort of made a pledge, which we've stuck to ever since, that we wouldn't actually commit personal funds to this project. Mm-hmm. That if we couldn't make it work in a way that was financially viable for our families, then it wasn't going to work. And so I actually didn't know a lot about Kickstarter. It was in 2012 that we put that first campaign up there. And we did our research. We looked at some of the games that had been funded at the time. We thought this looks super viable. And really it was, and I think to some degree remains, and I'm speaking more broadly about crowdfunding than Kickstarter in and of itself. Crowdfunding really remains the best option for sort of garage businesses like ours to get started in gaming.
Absolutely. So you mentioned you looked around and saw some other board games succeeding. There couldn't have been too many at that time, right? I mean, I know that obviously like Alien Frontiers had happened and a few other games like that were really bringing up big money. I think today Kickstarter has to love the tabletop industry, right? I mean, it seems like a very large portion of what's going on their platform.
It is.
Yeah.
It's the largest portion of on their platform, actually.
Wow,
Tabletop games account for a big chunk of it.
Yeah. But fantastic. So you mentioned that you did think about the fact of maybe, you know, going to a company and pitching the game. It's hard to imagine though, almost on some level that, you know, I couldn't see like Hasbro being like, you know, oh, okay. So a game where you're building a dungeon, you're the bad guys and everything is in, you know, pixel art. I have a feeling that maybe it would have been confusing for a lot of people. And did you find that with your kind of unique vision that because you were taking this to the customer directly, did that have advantages? Did that help you, you know, bring exactly the product that you wanted to gamers?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we were sort of targeting that niche of folks who were nostalgic for the games of the 80s. Boss Monster is sort of a parody of classic retro video games. There was a thought that through Kickstarter we could sort of target this key niche, and that by word of mouth they would sort of spread that news to each other. So yeah, I think there's no question in my mind, without Kickstarter we would not have been the success that we've turned out to be with this game. It just was, it hit the market at a time when people were really hungry for some new games and for some innovative games. And it hit the market at a time when we were sort of just coming out of that big recession, and I think folks were sort of nostalgic for the way things used to be, as they often are during tough financial times. So it all came together really well, but there's no doubt in my mind that Kickstarter was the glue that held all that together.
Fantastic. So what do you think about Kickstarter globally? You know, I'm assuming you're a tabletop fan. I mean, you've designed a game, so you must like them and play them. Do you think that Kickstarter has generally been a positive influence on the gaming hobby?
Well, I think there's two questions there. One is sort of how does Kickstarter work globally? And we like to point out that about about 25% of our Kickstarter backers were international backers. So a big chunk of supporters. With that comes all the challenges of making the game affordable to ship to those folks, and that's tougher with Kickstarter. But you know, we have ways of pulling that off. The other thing is has Kickstarter been a positive, you know, boon for the community? And I think that question is really, how do you look at it? In my mind, yes. I really think it has, because I think what's been healthy for the community is to have all these games, these new games coming out, to have all these new designers, new perspectives, folks who wouldn't necessarily have been able to get their game published are able to get it published and out on the market. So yeah, I think it's been a huge boon to the community. We're starting to sort of reap some of the drawbacks from that, though, in the sense that now we've got so many games on the market that they are, it's become challenging to get your own game to stand out. So that's the downside of the easy access that Kickstarter provides.
You know, I also worry too about, you know, I'm not going to call out any names here, but I feel like there may be pretty well established companies that are, you know, maybe distracting from some of the smaller publishers that I'd like to see more attention coming to their games on Kickstarter. You know, but it's interesting. I mean, not every company continues to use Kickstarter for every one of its projects. For instance, I don't think that Brotherwise used Kickstarter or a campaign to launch on Earth. Is that true?
That is true.
Yeah.
We didn't think that Unearth. We didn't really see a really strong campaign for that for Unearth. With stretch goals and add-ons and things like that. And
Right.
plus, we do want to sort of keep that. We don't want to go back to that well too many times.
Right.
And so we've saved the sort of Kickstarter magic for other launches. And we will continue to use it in the future, but at the moment, we're trying to take it easy on Kickstarter.
Great. So another thing I'm just really curious about. So like, I mean, obviously you guys have really embraced technology, using crowdfunding, and you've made an app form of the game. How on earth did Boss Monster come to be in our home here in AltspaceVR? What gave you the idea to do that?
I think it was sort of a mutual discussion, like, hey, what you guys are doing is cool. Hey, what you guys are doing is cool, between us and Altspace. Altspace was sort of exploring some different options for community experiences in the space. We were sort of looking for some new ways to get Boss Monster out there in new and sort of cutting-edge ways. And this seemed kind of like a cool place to play around. I've always liked the idea of VR. I played around with the VR boom back in the early 90s, which didn't necessarily go anywhere, but there were some fun gaming experiences. I don't know if folks remember the Robotech stuff you could do in the mall back then, where they would have these big setups.
I think you can still do that at Origins. But yeah.
You can. They've got these pods now, but so it was a mutual sort of love fest there, and then we were just blown away by the VR version of Boss Monster. Really like the idea of using VR as a place to make board games more accessible. Board gaming, for all its strengths, does sort of depend on getting a group of people together, and that can be tough for folks who are homebound for one reason or another, or live remotely, or otherwise not able to easily interact with folks in real life. So we love the idea of making our games more accessible in VR.
I love it. I mean, that's why this group is here. Like, I mean, I wanted to create a space for people all over the world in all sorts of different situations to be able to get together and play games. And it really makes me happy every week to come and see people do that. And people keep asking, when are we going to do Boss Monster? And the truth is, I was saving it for this night. So finally, we're going to break the seal on a Boss Monster for our group here this week, and we'll get there shortly enough. But I guess before we do that, I just kind of wanted to ask, what else is so what we've been talking about on Earth, so talk about what Brotherwise is up to these days. What do you guys got on tap? What are you working on? What are you excited about?
We're working on our third title, which we will actually probably Kickstarter in February.
Fantastic.
That is a totally new game, and I can't really say much about it right now, except to say it is another card game. It does have some more sort of different and unique mechanics, and it's a little bit more of a storytelling game, so a little bit different than anything we've done so far.
Cool.
Boss Monster 3 will actually probably be coming out in summer of 2018. That's something that I'm personally leading that project right now. And I'm super excited about it because we've got some really cool additions to sort of keep the game alive and keep the game evolving.
Fantastic. That's awesome, Chris. Thank you for coming here with your insights on Kickstarter before we did the games here. I really appreciate you taking the time to give your thoughts there. I really look forward to playing Boss Monster 3 and adding it. And mixing it in with the game and probably getting the card balance mixed up. I definitely look forward to trying that and hearing more about your new game. So I got another question for you. So which of these owls are you? Are you specifically one of the two owls? The one on the left or the one?
Yeah. You know, I get asked that all the time. I think that I think I'm the brown owl. I think I'm the friendly owl. I can't tell. I don't know. Maybe I'm the grumpy owl. It depends on any given day.
Very cool.
But no, we're not specifically assigned to an owl, though we probably should be.
I was just wondering because they look like they have their own little thing going on, so I thought maybe there was some sort of inside joke there in the O'Neill family. But yeah.
Yeah. No, they're cute. I love the owls. They're so cute.
Yeah, it's a great logo. Cool. All right, so let's finish up. So usually what we do, so this is like the intro lecture phase that some people hate. But I think it was way better today because Chris was here, right, guys? So you didn't have to just listen to me talk for like 20 minutes. But anyway, so I'm going to open up to the floor for a few questions. And has anybody here used Kickstarter or like to either sell a product or bought a product? I'd be most interested, I think, in tabletop stuff, but I was just kind of curious to hear, what people's experiences have been with crowdfunding. If anybody has anything they wanted to add to the conversation today. All right. If not, I will move it along. So I think all I'll say there is I've maybe bought like, or I should say I shouldn't say I bought. It's not, you're not buying something other than a potential future product. I think I've given to maybe like 15 Kickstarters at this point, and I've probably received 10 of the games. And I'd have to say I've liked probably 9 of 10 of them, which I think, from what I'm hearing, is a better ratio than most people. But I'll count myself lucky on that. So if nobody has used Kickstarter, I guess nobody really has any favorite games to mention. But I guess I'll ask you, Chris. Do you have any favorite games that have been Kickstarted that aren't Boss Monster?
Oh gosh, I haven't. So I've actually only in the past I kickstarted a few video games, most notably Shadowrun from Harebrained Schemes, which I really have enjoyed.
Yeah,
that was a super fun game. I recently kickstarted Eric Lang's new game called Rising Sun. He's the guy who did Blood Rage, which is probably in my top 5 games.
I've kickstarted that as well.
Really enjoy that. Yeah, and anything by Eric Lang is going to have some positives to it at the very least. So he's really talented. I also kickstarted a story game called for my daughter called Robot Riddle or Robot Riddle, but I haven't received that yet. And of course, well, I can't remember if it was Kickstarter or if it was a home project, but Scythe from Stonemayer Games. Scythe being the game of the year.
That was actually Stonemeyer's last Kickstarter. So yeah, that was a Kickstarter.
That was a
yeah.
Okay, I couldn't remember if it was Kickstarter or it was a campaign they hosted on their own site. But Scythe is an exceptional game, and Jamie is an exceptional publisher and designer, for sure.
Well, I mean, for anybody who might be interested in marketing something on Kickstarter, Jamie Stegmaier is very open and loves to share all of his experiences, and he has a lot of really interesting things to say on his blog on the Stonemaier Games website. And I highly recommend it. He's an interesting guy. So I've got a few answers.
He is very smart.
I've got a few favorites that I wanted to highlight, just because I think that along with Boss Monster, I think they'll give you a good cross section of the kind of innovation, I think, and things that go on in crowdfunded tabletop games. The first one I wanted to highlight is Islebound, which is by a company called Red Raven Games. And the reason I wanted to highlight Red Raven is a very interesting animal because Ryan Lockett, who runs Red Raven, is basically the designer, the owner, and the artist for all of his games. He's kind of like a one-man show for a lot of what goes on. And as a result, their products have a very unified kind of vision to them and a very unified art style. And almost like a unified kind of like, it almost feels like when you play one of Ryan's games, like you're playing like, similar to Rainier Knizia or some of the other German designers, where each one of his games feels like a subtle kind of tweaking of a formula that he's trying to work out in his head. So I find his games really interesting. I think Islebound is my favorite right now. The second one is Zaya, Legends of a Drift System, which might be one of the most ridiculously ever produced things ever. I like to call it Elite Dangerous Cardboard Edition. You know, essentially, like you're piloting you're trying to pilot a ship around the universe and you know, ship things back and forth. You know, maybe be a pirate or stop pirates. And there's no way any publisher in their right mind probably ever would have made this game when he described it to them. So I think this kind of like typifies the idea of a game that just probably would seem completely and practically difficult to even a hobby game manufacturer. And I have no idea how they make it for the price point they do. There's some sort of witchcraft going on there. And then finally, the last one is, and I was actually going to bring this up for the very reason that Chris did, is Viticulture, which is I like that. I like it slightly more than Hive still. This is Jamie Stegmaier and his partner Alan Stone designed this one. It's a winemaking game, and Stonemaier is a great company. And they're an example of a company that actually has abandoned Kickstarter at this point because they feel that right now, you know, it was great for the formative stages of their company, but that they're at a point where they're using a different direct retail type model. So just a couple other games that I wanted to highlight before we moved into the Boss Monster. So,
yep.
Did you want to add anything, Chris? I think I heard you maybe.
No, I would agree on all those. Those are all really cool games.
Okay, so my last favorite here is the game du jour, Boss Monster, and I think the reason I like Boss Monster so much is I like games that kind of turn the table on things a little bit. So for those of you who haven't played it before, so the idea of Boss Monster is, you know, we're doing the whole dungeon diving thing from the other perspective. So instead of being like the band of adventure who's going out to kill monsters and get gold, you are the monster who is trying to build this awesome dungeon basically to look really cool so the adventurers will come to it and die, essentially. So you're trying to collect the most adventurous souls that you can. So I just love that theme. It really also has really nice looking art. I always get offended when people call it 8-bit art because I think it's actually more like 16-bit art. I don't know, maybe I'm a pixel art purist. But I think it's really a really nice looking game. And I think probably my absolute favorite thing is it's really hard to find games that play as quickly or as easily as Boss Monster that are as interesting. And I think that's probably why Altspace thought that Boss Monster would be a good choice for the platform. And I would have to agree that I think it's a fantastic choice because of how interesting it is, despite the fact that, you know, you're still using a single deck of cards and you don't have all these different bits and pieces to manage. So anyway, that's my take on Boss Monster and why I'm happy that we have it here to play. So does anybody want to add anything more or say anything before we go into the demo and kind of go through an instructional game here?
I've actually never played this game, but it sounds amazing.
Well, it is amazing. And it's a good night to be here because we're gonna have we'll start with 4 more experienced players. So I might ask like April and Just John, are you able to join in? And did you want to play, Chris, or would you rather observe?
Well, why don't I can coach from the side, that way you can get more players in.
Sweet. And then so yeah, let's pick one new player. All right, Cody, you're already at the table.
I won't be able to play, actually. I don't have much time left.
Okay, so all right. Well, anyway, we'll see. Brian, are you able to jump in? Because I know you're an experienced player. Sure. And that'd be a good fit. And once we go through a couple rounds, I'm gonna actually stop this example game, and I think I'm probably gonna run off and start another room somewhere so that I can get another game going. So anyway, let's get started. So Ghoster, yeah, we'll record the explanation part here. All right. So welcome to Boss Monster. Let me just explain to you a few things that you're looking at right now. So I'll start the game. So in front of you is your dungeon, and there are well, first off, you're missing one thing. Let me deal out. So I'm dealing out to you guys Okay, great.
Hi.
Hello. Hello, Cameron.
Okay. So I gave you your boss. You can take the boss out and put it on the table and hit the flip button. And if you ever want to view any of the cards that you have more closely, just click on. Yeah.
Jeez,
There we go.
that is hard to read. Oh, there you
So
go.
so if you ever want to view anything more closely, just hold your hand, your icon over top of the card, and that'll zoom in on it. So you'll get like a larger version of it, so you can kind of see all the various elements of the card. How are you guys doing, April
I'm doing
and?
fine.
How do I put my boss down?
So just grab it and with your hand, and then lie it. It's not
What are we
working.
grabbing?
What button are you using?
Oh,
My lower grip button.
Oh no, you want to use A.
A. Oh,
There you go.
there we
There
go.
you go.
Yeah, I already put mine down in the boss spot.
Yep. So if you put it in the boss spot and then flip it over.
Oh, I got it.
Cool. All right. So we'll come back to the boss. So in front of your boss, you have 5 rooms, and this is going to be where you build your dungeon progressively. Okay. And we're going to be playing out room cards. So, oh whoa, you've already dealt yourself a hand there. We have an experienced player. Fantastic. Everybody else.
I was just randomly clicked something and just good luck.
Oh, okay. Good work. I think. Oh wait, no, you grabbed all spell cards.
Too many
Oops.
spells.
All right. So I don't think we can shuffle, can we? All right, we're gonna have to reset the table.
You can shuffle.
Oh,
If you hover over it, usually.
oh
Yeah, it's
wow.
gonna
Yeah,
be-
it's a shuffle.
Click it. Shuffle. There you go.
Awesome. Well done.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris. All right.
Sure.
So everybody grab. Why is there a boss card on top of the deck?
Somebody's just poking it around. You can put it back.
I can't pick it up.
I'm out of the game, so I won't be able to.
Yeah, I think
Or
it's
have
glitched.
Mitch put it back.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to reset. Okay, guys, sorry about that. All right. So now let's each grab a boss and place it down.
I've got nothing. Alright, lady. Just check my... Yeah.
You got 5 cards again? That's interesting.
I lost mine.
Okay, cool.
Wait, Linda.
Does it keep giving you 5 cards, Mitch? Or what's happening there?
On the white area here, I've got nothing. I've got my room deck, my spell deck, my hero deck,
Okay.
my epic hero deck. Oh, there you go.
You should be able to flip it. This is half of gaming in VR, is learning how the interface works. So anyway, the next thing that everybody needs to do is grab 5 of the room cards here. If you see this deck right
So
here,
the tall deck?
yeah, and put it in your tray in front of you. Why are boss cards appearing on the room deck?
They must be getting dragged onto there.
To glitch you to put cards above it for it to go away.
I'm not able to grab more than one. Oh, it's not letting me grab the boss card on top there, I think.
What kind of cards, Leah, should I put on top?
Just put a boss card above it and it'll go away.
Oh, okay.
This is why
glitch
enforcing
I
game
built when I'm
rules is so
playing it.
important.
What's
I
up,
can't
Steven?
drag it.
I was just
Yeah,
saying
cool.
that's why enforcing the game rules is important. Like, this is sort of tabletop simulator style where you can put anything anywhere, but it really makes it hard to learn.
I can't drag it
Yeah, I
for
can't
some
either.
reason.
I can only get one card.
I think I've got
Doing
two
house
here.
chores, it came in an Altspace in 2D mode.
I've got about 4 here, so I need an extra one.
I
Oh,
can't
okay, yeah, I'll
grab
grab
it.
one of yours. I can grab
Hey.
the one that you pulled off, though.
All right. So yeah, the room deck is now no longer working.
I've got 4
Do
cards.
you want me to grab a mod, Matt?
There's
Stealing
Steven
my
is here.
cards.
Let's reset the game.
I've never seen this one before, actually.
Oh, I just got the my deck back.
So hold on, nobody touch for a second.
Okay.
Let's just do a 2-player game and see what happens. So start it at 3, I guess.
Or I can exit. Two
And
players.
then
There we go.
before anyone else touches it, Matt, why don't you grab your cards, Matt, to see if the draw is working.
Oh, I don't think I'm in the game actually.
Oh, who's in? So just one person is going to drag a room card. Okay, there we go. Cody, put that on the green spot right there. So, okay, what's happening, I think, is that Mitch is looking at the deck, the room deck, as people are trying to grab from it. And if he has it open, they can't grab from it. So Mitch needs to close out that view and just click and drag cards onto his trough. You see what I'm saying?
Where do I put this?
Do you have a trough below the table, Mitch? I'm not seeing it on, there we go.
A white one. There you
Okay,
go.
that's how you drag a card. Perfect. Okay, now each of you needs to grab 5 room cards total. Nope, you keep viewing the deck, Mitch. You don't want to hit view, you just want to click and drag. Nope, we're having trouble with Mitch.
Oh, there you go.
There we go, that's what we're looking for.
I don't like picking random cards though. This is like the holograms against humanity. You always get the crap cards.
Perfect. All right, so Cody, Cody, you can now grab 2 spell cards, same way.
Spell card.
And April, I can't see your trough, so I don't know how many cards you have.
I don't have any. I didn't know I was in the game.
Yeah, it's a 2-player game right now.
Oh, it's a 2-player game. Okay, so
Yeah,
it does work. What was happening, Matt, was somebody had the room deck on view mode, which keeps everyone else from interacting properly with it.
I see. All right, guys. So let's do it one more time with 4. Does that sound good?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
And remember, nobody hit view mode.
Okay. I click join. Okay.
All right. So,
First we get our boss, right?
yep.
Yay, got the one I started with.
Hey, I got the same one.
Five cards.
Okay.
One.
Right, yeah. There you go.
So if you want to view any of the cards bigger, just hold your mouse, hold your hand or your mouse, if you're, I suppose if you're in 2D mode, over the card, and it'll show you like a larger version of it. And there's a couple important things in the card that I just want to show you. Some of them are advanced, and we can't use those yet. And if anybody has 4 advanced cards, let me know because we need to redeal you a new hand.
Okay, I'm going to guess and say one of them is faith, attack, intelligence or defense, and cash.
Yep. So, the heart is the amount of damage that it's going to do to adventurers when they come into your dungeon. And the icon in the bottom corner is basically the type of treasure that's inside of that room. And depending upon the type of treasure that's available in there, it's going to affect what type of adventurer wants to come into your dungeon. So we're going to finish dealing out the rest of the cards here, just so you can kind of understand how the game works. But it's not really a major decision for this first one. But what we're going to do first is everyone select one of your basic rooms, and you're going to build that as so. Pick one of the rooms that's not an advanced room. So it's going to be either a trap room or a monster room. And you're going to build that as your first room in your dungeon. So, you know, at this point, you don't need to be too choosy because first off, the mechanics probably don't make a whole lot of sense. So you'll put it face down. And what we'll do is yep.
A couple of people are still missing
I
two
just
spells.
realised if we're playing as a villain, that...
Oh, I need to take
might have got a
spells. I'm
really bad
sorry.
card on
I
it,
forgot.
actually.
Cody, do you have
Right,
spell
'cause it says
cards?
He has like 3 monsters there.
Yeah, I have
Monster, 3
two.
dragons.
Right there.
No, that one might actually be a good one then.
No,
So
I'm
Mitch-
not. I only have one
Mitch, you'll
spell
also
card.
need to grab two spell cards, or if
Okay.
you don't have them.
Spell cards. Let's see what...
I don't think Mitch
On-
has his boss card down.
Okay, yeah, you'll have to put your boss card out.
Boss card. I wasn't given a boss card. Oh wait, there it is. Come here. Spell cards.
Then flip it over.
Spell's been a bit buggy. I think that's a spell card.
Yeah, you want to flip over the boss card, actually. There we go. Thank you. Then those go. The spell cards go into your hand. They go into your board. Yeah. Okay, so I think we're all set up. All right, so what everybody wants to do is take one of their room cards. It has to be a standard room card. So it can't be one of the advanced. So if it has advanced in it, that's not legitimate for the first play. And since this is your first game, don't worry too much about which one you pick in particular. But know that some of the rooms have effects on them that will trigger later. So for instance, one of your rooms may be able to be destroyed to have effects. And when you destroy a room, it'll leave your dungeon, but it might do something good for you. So just know that for the future. So what we're going to do is take your room card and place it in room 1 and put it face down because we're going to reveal them in XP order. So you'll notice each of us has XP above our heads. So April has 800, Cody has 600, and Mitch, you have 400. I'm not sure if I can see how much I have. Can anybody tell me?
I can't see yours.
I have 800.
850.
You have 850.
850. Okay. So the person with highest experience goes first, which appears to be me.
So I think I would have placed my monster in one a minute ago, actually. Yeah, I did.
Did we lose Cody?
Yeah.
Hey?
He probably crashed because he has Gear VR.
Hello guys. What are you guys playing?
We're playing Boss Monster, Tony. If I could ask you just move away
Playing
from the table.
Dungeons and Dragons VR mode.
Yeah,
Or
okay.
win.
Okay.
If I could ask you to kind of move back so that.
Oh,
Thank you,
sorry.
sir. Oh, no worries.
Oh,
I appreciate it.
stuck for a sec. There you go. Oh, I think I got a good.
All right. So anyway, hopefully Cody rejoins us soon because I don't think there's any way for us to swap in a new player.
Can we play?
No, but you can just keep going with this game as a 2-player game, and I think that's probably it'll give people the idea.
So I have the highest XP, so I'm going to flip my card over first. So what I have here is
Oh shit! Sorry.
It is a Dizzy August hallway. And so what that means is that if the next room in my dungeon would have been a trap room, it would have given me +2, but I didn't play that very smartly because I should have another room in there. So I believe April will go next. She'll flip over a card.
I already flipped it. It is a Golem Factory, which has 2 attack and 1 sword. And once per
Cool.
turn, if a hero dies in this room, draw a room card.
Awesome. All right, Mitch, you can reveal your card.
For my first room, I've got, where's that view? I've got destroy this room, kill a hero in this room, and it's just one heart, and it's a money bag.
Fantastic. All right, so that was the setup round. So now we're going to play the first real round. And the first thing you do at the beginning of every regular round is we're going to reveal some heroes. So these are the heroes that are kind of gathering in a tavern in town and kind of bragging about all the monsters that they're going to kill. And we're going to kind of bring out those cards.
Who are you? Shut up.
And see what we're up against. All right, so we're going to start here with the regular heroes, which are the gray deck. Once we exhaust that pile, we'll move on to the epic heroes, which are tougher enemies. No cards. So these are all commonly shared by all of us. So as you can look at here, we've got 3 different types of heroes. The first one is a mage, and the mage is after knowledge, essentially, books. And there's a second mage there that has kind of similar properties, but it's stronger. It will take more damage before it dies. So Coaster, I actually can't see the cards with the camera there. They disappeared. Oh, he took them.
Oh, I just realised something. None of these heroes are going to win against my boss.
Okay. So the third card is a thief who is after the money bags. And what's going to happen is these adventurers are going to go to the dungeon that matches their treasure interest most closely. And we can see that over our heads. So like right now, Mitch, I can look at you, and above your head, I see that you have 1 sword and 1 money symbol in your dungeon. And if you look at me and point at me, you can see that I've got 2 money bag symbols in my dungeon. And what's going to happen is these adventurers are going to go to the places that match their interests the most. But anyway, before they do anything, we're going to do another round of building. So we need to draw back up the 5 cards. So everybody grab another room card here.
That's not okay. Room
I
card.
can't grab one again. Oh, there we go.
Okay. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to select another room card. And now we've got an option. We can do 2 different things. We could build in room number 2 another basic room, or we could theoretically, although it's probably not the best idea, we could build an advanced room on top of the basic room that we already have down, as long as it has at least 1 of the same symbols as that room. So for instance, I've got a money bag room here. I could build an advanced room on top of it that also has that money bag symbol. All right. But usually in the first round, you're often going to maybe expand, but it really depends upon your goals, really, of what you're looking to do.
Should it also be the same type room?
No, type doesn't matter. Only the symbols.
Oh.
But keep in mind, though, it might change which adventurers you attract, right? So building, for instance, if you build a room with a book on it, you could be in for a world of hurt this round.
Not use that. I'll put mine down.
I'm ready when you guys are.
Okay. I am ready
Should
as well, I think.
Should I flip?
Sorry, since I was talking, I didn't read my cards.
I think someone else is joined.
All right.
Oh yeah, lucky.
Okay. So anyway, I flipped since I have the highest HP. April flips for the second, and then Mitch, you'll flip as a third. All right, so now basically the number of damage you can do is going to be influenced by that card that you just put down. So now what's going to happen is the adventurers that are in town are going to go and seek the dungeons that interest them. And interestingly, right now, it's a pretty boring time to be a mage because nobody has any book symbols. So what that means
We're all
is
afraid of them.
we're all currently tied for 0 books. Well, actually, I guess if Cody was still in the game, Cody would be in for a lot of pain right now. But luckily, he doesn't have to deal with that. So what's going to happen is these 2 guys are going to stay in town. All right, and they're not going to go anywhere. This 3rd guy, however, the thief, is going to come destroy me because he has 8 hearts, and there's almost nothing I can do with this guy because even my spells aren't good enough to really help me out at all. So what I do is I take the thief and put him at the entrance of my dungeon, and all of these cards right now, or actually I built an advanced room, so I'm breaking the rules. So let me just put something else out there.
So wait, do the heroes start on this side or this side?
They enter from the highest numbered room and go towards your boss monster. Oh, I'm sorry, your rooms? I'm sorry. I thought you were asking the monsters. No, your rooms go from the lowest numbers up. Apologies.
Oh.
Yeah, so you effectively build outwards as opposed to the adventurers coming inwards.
Is there any rules against using spell cards straight away?
So yes, spell cards can only be used, and it depends upon what kind of spell card it is. The ones with the hammers on can only be used during the build phase. So when we're selecting to make a building, and then the ones that have the other symbol on it, the skull and crossbones, or that's wrong, isn't it? Help me out, Chris. The symbols on. I'm trying to figure out the symbols, what they mean on the spell cards.
Wait,
as to what phase they can be played in.
Right. So if it has the little hammer, that means you can play it during the build phase before the rooms are revealed. If it has the little axe, and they're hard to tell apart, I admit, it's playable during the adventure phase while you're processing heroes. If it has both, there's no restriction.
That looks like that, so...
Okay. So the bottom line is I'm the only one that's dealing with an adventure this phase, but I am doing a whopping 2 damage. And what that means is that this 8 damage character is going to make it through, and he is going to go on my wound pile. And I can only take 5 wounds or I die. If I were to defeat this adventurer, he would go on my souls pile. And that's basically my points for the game. And the first person to get to 10 souls wins the game. So there's 2 ways to win. One is to be the first player to get 10 souls. The second way is to be the last player remaining. So every other player has taken 5 wounds and has been eliminated from the game. So there's 2 different paths to victory. Everybody understand that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So even if you have like 4 wounds and like no souls, if everyone else has 5 wounds, for instance, then you just win.
That's correct.
That would be a demolishing win.
Yeah, and it's interesting, you know, I've had games that have gone to the point where it's like that nervous, like, you know, should I push it to try to get that 10th soul or am I going to die? I mean, that does happen all the time.
Is it worth it?
Yeah. All right. So if everybody has it, well, before we draw rooms, we reveal, so these guys stay. So the guys who are in the town, they're still there and they may come to visit us next round. And boy, that could be something else. Because they're going to hit pretty...
Oh yeah, we need 2 more heroes.
All right, so first hero out is After Money again. Oh boy,
I
that's
don't know
not
about
good
you
for
guys,
me.
but it takes me a while for the card preview to show up when I hover over it. I don't know if that
It
happens
does,
to you.
yeah.
Yeah.
It seems to be by design.
Oh.
That is a new one. I'm not going to go for that one. I'm going to go.
So Mitch, you've taken the
It's gonna
cards
die.
again. There we go.
There we
Yeah.
go. You can just actually hover over it, and then the preview shows up over it. That way, everybody can look at them at the same time.
I know who's going to die in my dungeon. The one's looking for knowledge. There is none in here.
Okay. So everybody pick a new card to
Sponges
build.
then.
Okay. Oh no, we haven't drawn
Gabe.
rooms yet.
Oh yeah, room. You're right. I'm sorry, April. Everybody draw another room.
What would I put as my last room? That one.
Oh, cool.
Oh no, I need to flip that one. God damn it, did it again. Stop it. There you go. Got all my cards ready.
I'm not ready yet.
Actually, no, I'm going to... Wait,
Trying
you
to
know,
decide what to
can we
build.
have the spell cards flipped down?
What do you mean, so that you can see them?
No, so like could the heroes tell that, like, are the heroes in the game programmed to know, like, walk into there, know it's a spell, and then still...
Oh,
have
so
that
the
much
spells
effect?
do not go in your dungeon. The spells stay in your hand until you want to
Okay.
play them.
Okay. And then I will use...
Okay.
Oops.
I'm gonna do this one.
All right, so everybody's picked their third room.
I've got 2 knowledge ones here now. Crap. There you go. I've got
We
the-
should only be building our third room right now, right?
Yeah, I don't know how you filled up all your rooms, Mitch, but
I'm
I think you
prepping.
put too many cards down.
all right. So we've built our third room, and all right. So let's do. So this is going to be our last round for this teaching game, and the only mechanic I think that I haven't explained yet that's very important to the game is that once you've built your fifth room when you filled up the fifth room, so we're building outward. Once we have a completed dungeon, you will trigger your level up ability, and the level up ability is explained on the card there that you have in front of you.
The boss monster
wait.
card.
What have I got above my head? Because you got 1 sword, 4 money bag, and you've got 2 sword, 1 book, 1 money bag.
So you've got 2 money bags, 2 books, a sword, and one of the religious symbols.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right, but he has too many cards on, so it's not
Did you
quite
say I
accurate.
had 1 book? 1.
2.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah, you do have a few too many cards. Okay. All right. Yeah, discard 1. Okay, now you're down to 1 book. That's good. All right. So, all right. So anyway, yeah, we're
So you were
gonna
talking about the level up ability as the boss
yeah.
monster?
So when you get the 5th card out in your dungeon, you'll trigger the level up ability, and so I'll just read it to you from mine. So what it says is search the room deck or discard pile. So those are right here. So we don't have a discard pile yet because no one has destroyed a room or discarded a room for any reason. Or the deck for an advanced trap room, and you can immediately build that in your dungeon. So it's kind of a powerful one-time use ability you get when you fill up your dungeon. So you want to know about that. All right, so let's do the adventures one more time. And April, I'll let you do it this time, just to have someone else talk for a bit.
You want me to talk about the adventures?
Yeah, just kind of like divvy them out to who gets them.
Okay, so let's see. Based on the stats that are showing above everyone's heads right now, which Mitch right now has too many cards built because he should only have 3 rooms built. but based on our stats right now, we're all tied for books. Actually, the two of us are tied for books, me and Mitch. So basically, what that means is that the first adventurer, which is looking for books, is not going to go anywhere because they want someone to be leading in books, right?
Right.
So the second adventurer is the same thing, also books, which is probably good because he has 8 health, and I don't think any of us have the power to kill somebody with 8 yet. Okay, so then we have the thief, who is looking for money bags. And Matt has 4 money bags, which I think is more than the two of us. So Matt definitely gets the thief. Yeah. Well, the thief has 4 health, so you might have a chance. So I think you would have to grab it, Matt, right? I wouldn't grab it for you.
Sure. So I'll grab the first thief. He's going to enter my dungeon. And I might as well grab the second thief because I know he's coming too. And there's very little I can do about him. All right. So the first thief comes in. I still don't think I have enough to number of monster rooms in my dungeon. How many do I have? I only have 1. So that's worth 1. So let me see if I've got a spell card. I don't. Okay. Give one trap room +3 until end of turn. So I'm going to play that on this here. So I've played a spell card. This gives me a +3 on this trap room. So that trap
I'm going to do a counter. I'm doing a counter spell.
Oh no, I can't even kill one. Hey, just for the sake of having me demonstrate all the mechanics of the game, April. Oh no.
Losing repeatedly is a pretty important mechanic, right?
I know there's one card in here.
Let's pretend I didn't play that.
I'm going to use it.
Let's pretend I didn't play that. So then you would have, go ahead and do the spell.
So if we did it the non-jerky way, so if April didn't do the jerky thing to me, so this trap room would be so I'd have a total of 6, I can kill both of these thieves. Yes. So what happens is this first thief goes through, takes a damage, takes 2 damage, takes 4 damage, so he's dead. So I can put him in my soul pile. The second thief is a little bit tougher, with 6 health points. So he takes 1 damage, he takes 2 damage, and then he takes 4 damage, and he's dead as well. So I got lucky there. So I now stand as having 2 adventures, souls taken, and 1 wound. So
whereas normally if I'd played the counterspell, you'd have 3 wounds.
3 wounds, and that pretty much would have taken me. That would have about taken me out of it.
Surviving mine.
So is everybody kind of getting the basic mechanics of the game pretty well?
Yeah.
Or great.
Yep.
All right. So I think that at this point, after the explanation's done, I'm going to sign off from the YouTube. We're going to keep playing Boss Monster, but it's probably not going to be particularly interesting, although I'm not sure my explanation was either. But anyway, let's just thank Chris O'Neill one more time for coming out to join us. It's really been awesome to have Chris here to talk about his game and talk about his business and how crowdfunding has been helping Tabletop and how it helped make Boss Monster. And thank you for bringing AltspaceVR to us, or bringing Boss Monster to AltspaceVR, because it's really definitely one of the greatest games here, and a lot of fun, something we all enjoy doing. So goodbye, YouTube. Thank you, Ghoster, for streaming. Thank you for Hive viewers for coming in. We're going to say goodbye and see you on the 6th.
Bye.
Hey, Matt.